Monday, May 31st, 2021, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. So things are getting very crazy here in Europe, in the UK. It's almost as if, yes, there was a blockade. People from the UK can't travel to Europe. Things are very unusual, despite the fact that the crisis that we've had since last year seems to have gone away, despite the fact that they want to keep us believing it's still here. And I'm going to try to put that together with what's going on with Basel III. And you might ask, what are you talking about? Well, Basel III, of course, is a set of rules, a third set of rules imposed by the Bank for International Settlements on the big international banks, on the too big to fail, that are spread out mainly between North America and Western Europe. Yes, there are some in Japan, Australasia, and even in China, but mostly in Europe and North America, the big international banks. And of course, the Bank for International Settlements, even though it's based in Basel, Switzerland, is pretty much like the Vatican or Washington, D.C., or even the City of London within Greater London, the City of London, the square mile. It's a sovereign entity. I think the Swiss police can only go into the BIS tower or property in Basel if there is criminal reason for it, like someone killed someone or something like that. But apart from that, they're totally immune. The heads of the central banks of the major countries, when they travel to Basel, Switzerland to meet every other month, they carry a BIS passport, and it's a diplomatic one. They don't have to stop at customs or anything. So they're like a sovereign entity, and the Bank for International Settlements was created in 1930, mainly by the Bank of England and the Reichsbank at the time, Norman Montague, or Montague Norman, sorry, he was the governor of the Bank of England for about 20 years, I think, and Hjalmar Schacht, who was a good friend of his, he was the head of the Reichsbank. And so it's a central banking institution created, it says here in their constituent charter of the Bank for International Settlements, and this is from them, I'm not making this up. It was created by the major countries, but through their banks. And the central banks at the time, you have to remember, were private. From the US, it was actually some of the big banks that own the New York Fed, of course. So we'll go through it here. And I found something interesting in this, and I'm not surprised, and I'll tell you why in a minute. So January 20th, 1930, it says, whereas the powers signatory to the Hague Agreement of January 1930 have adopted a plan which contemplates the founding by the central banks, you see, by the central banks of Belgium, France, Germany, Great Britain, Italy, and Japan, and by a financial institution of the United States of America, of an international bank to be called the Bank for International Settlements. This bank was mainly founded to try to make the payments of reparations from World War I, from Germany, more smooth. Germany was having problems at the time because of the stock market crash the year before, the Great Depression that was looming. So, but of course, it's even though that problem is going away, they've stayed on. These globalist institutions, they never go away, it seems. So it says, and whereas the said central banks and the banking group, including Messrs. J.P. Morgan and Company of New York, the First National Bank of New York, so the First National Bank, that merged with the First National City Bank of New York. So that's like Citibank. And the First National Bank of Chicago have undertaken to found the said bank and have guaranteed or arranged for the guarantee of the subscription of its authorized capital amounting to 500 million Swiss francs, equal to 145,161,290.32 grams fine gold divided into 200,000 shares. So the gold part is very interesting. I remember until a few years ago, the books at the BIS were kept in grams of fine gold, or they used to call it also gold francs, and then they changed it to francs or maybe dollars. I'm not too sure. So now the books are kept in fiat currency. But as Lindsay Williams has told us many times, his elite friends tell him that their money or their currency as well is not paper, it's gold. So, and what's that got to do with the crisis right now? And even with Brexit, I would say, and the Bank of England, because the Bank of England is part, I'm sure they have a big shareholding in the BIS. I'm not sure if we could find that out. But we know now that from June 28th, the European banks, and by European, I mean continental Europe, not Great Britain, they're going to have to abide by this Basel III rule on unallocated gold. It's going to be a lot more expensive for them to mess around with the gold market, with paper, with basically gold created out of thin air, credit. But the Bank of England, you can call it the UK, but the Bank of England has been given till the end of this year to follow that rule of unallocated under Basel III. And they're actually pushing, even though it's the LBMA and the World Gold Council, they're pushing the BIS to kind of change that rule, because it would really hamper them from manipulating the price of gold as they do right now. And the LBMA really is just a cover, I would say, for the Bank of England. The chairman of the LBMA is an ex-Bank of England guy, I think Paul Fisher. And LBMA is basically the bullion banks that own the central banks like JP Morgan, HSBC, Citibank, Goldman Sachs. They're all based in London, in New York. And don't forget, JP Morgan, yes, it's an American bank, but its roots are in the city of London in the 1800s. What I'm thinking here is that the Europeans, the continentals, are fine with moving towards this new rule. They don't seem to be concerned about not trading paper gold, not maybe manipulating the gold market as much. And that could be because the euro would have a lot to gain from that, because it's the dollar that's the reserve currency. And if gold goes up, it reflects worse on the dollar. It will reflect badly on the euro. But if you look at the European countries, they have a lot of gold. Germany has, I think, over 3,000 tons. Italy and France have over 2,000. Even little Switzerland has 1,000. And here in the UK, the Bank of England or the UK only have 300 tons. Yes, the Bank of England has 5,000 tons in its vaults, but that's gold belonging to other countries. So, yeah, and with what's going on now, that Switzerland's just told the UK you're going to have to quarantine to go to Switzerland. I've had a viewer contact me saying that the viewer gave a family member some money for the person's birthday, and it was in the form of Swiss francs, the real banknotes. And some of you might have heard from the 31st of October, those the old Swiss franc notes have to be, they won't be accepted anymore. You have to hand them in and change it for the new ones by October 31st. So if you can't travel to Switzerland right now from the UK, it's going to be very hard to do that. Maybe you'll be able to do it by the end of October. But I just think there's something going on there. And they could be preparing the system for a major, lack of a better word, people use it all the time, a reset. And in the world that we live in, pre-2020, where basically the borders were very porous and you could go anywhere around the world had become a lot smaller than it was, for example, in 1930 or 1933, when Roosevelt had to confiscate all the gold to reset the system. Nowadays, it's such a difficult thing to do. So what better way to do it under the cover of a pandemic, right? So that's my thought. Yes, and it's interesting as well that we've seen now news that even the Bank for International Settlements has been buying gold from the Bank of England, physical gold, even at a 50-cent premium to spot, which apparently is quite a high premium. Yeah, 1 million ounces is only about 33 tons. It isn't that much, but we've also heard now that even the Russian sovereign wealth fund is going to be allowed to accumulate gold. The Chinese are buying gold. So I think we need to keep an eye on these developments. And seeing that we are in the 50th year since the collapse of Bretton Woods system, which basically took the world's monetary system into uncharted waters. Why uncharted waters? Well, because prior to 1971, the major reserve currency was always as good as gold. And unfortunately, it hasn't been since August 15th, 1971. So it's long in the tooth. There's so much debt in the system. I mean, even before the crisis last year, which led to even more taking of debt, and also problems for people like landlords and tenants. Like in the UK, just saw a story yesterday, commercial landlords and tenants brace for 6 billion rent decision. So June 30th is a key date for these commercial real estate landlords and tenants. Are they going to kick the can down the road? Is the government going to come into the rescue and bail out these landlords to the tune of 6 billion? Who knows? But yeah, things are crazy. And I think what's been going on, unfortunately, has a lot to do with this system, and they're covering it up with another crisis. And why are they doing that? Well, because they want to be the ones that bring the solution to the crisis. I don't know when the crisis is going to happen. Good chance it's happening as we speak right now. But the financial monetary crisis could be very soon, I would say. And that would give them the capacity to come out with a solution. And their solution, we know what it is already. It's a green new world, a digital currency, travel passports, and things like that. And the same people that are involved with the World Economic Forum, you look at the board of directors there, they're all part of central banks, financial institutions. So yeah, they can't say we screwed it up in the last 50 years and we want to give you the solution. And that's why I personally will try to stay out of the new system if they're successful in implementing as much as possible. And that's why I'm going to have as much as I can outside the financial system in the form of physical silver and gold and other things as well. Of course, it's up to each individual. I would try to get out of debt as much as possible as well, because as you've seen here, a lot of people are in trouble because of what they've done in the last 16 months, because they can't operate their business. And the debt that they've had that they thought they could service, they can't anymore. So We'll have to keep an eye on things. I think the month of June could be very interesting. So with that, let's look at where the markets are. Yes, it's going to be very quiet today. London is closed for a bank holiday, and the US, I think the markets are going to be closed as well, of course, for Memorial Day. But the futures trade, so, and in Europe, things are open. So let's see here. It's 8:27 a.m. London. We've got spot gold at 1905. It's up just over $1. Range has been 1911 to 1901. Silver is up 4 cents. It has been as high as 28.15, but right now we're just below 28. The low has been 27.86. The Dow future is up 19 points. The NASDAQ 100 future is up 11, and the S&P is up 4. The currencies, the pound is down slightly at 141.78. The euro is up slightly at 121.97. Dollars down versus the yen, 1/8% at 109.71. Dollars unchanged versus the Chinese yuan at 6.36. And the Aussie dollar right now is at 77.32, up 1/4%. WTI crude is up 1%, just below 67 at 66.85. High grade copper is up 1/3%. So we're back up above the 2011 high of around 466. We're at 469. And the 10-year yield is not being quoted because the U.S. Treasury market is closed today because of Memorial Day. So there you go. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button. Please share it far and wide. Think about subscribing to my channel if you haven't yet. And you can also follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and all these other platforms below here. I wish you all a great day. Take care. Bye.